Flow just dropped an update that quietly fixes one of the biggest lines in AI image generation, and that's fake 4K.
What most people don't realize is that for a long time, when you asked AI tools to upscale to 4K, you weren't actually getting a true 4K image. You were getting something that looked sharper, but the underlying resolution often stayed the same. And that distinction matters a lot more than people think. Flow has introduced native 2K and 4K downloads for images generated with Nano Banana Pro. Instead of typing upscale to 4K into the prompt and hoping for the best, you now choose the resolution at download time. That means true pixel dimensions, predictable output, no prompt tricks, no guesswork. This feature is available on Pro and Ultra plans, with 4K reserved for Ultra users. Right now, during the holiday window, these upscales are free, capped at 200 downloads per day per resolution, though that may change in the future. To test this properly, I built multiple controlled use cases using up to 300 credits in Veo 3. For each one, I generated the same image at 1K, 2K, and 4K. Then I converted those images into video using Veo 3. To remove output bias, all videos were exported at 720p, regardless of input resolution. After that, every video was processed through Topaz Video AI using the exact same enhancement settings. Same model, same parameters, same workflow. Let's start with the first image, which is the 1K version. Right now, we're viewing it at 100%, and at this scale, it looks fine. It's usable as a base image. But as soon as we begin to zoom in, the limitations become very clear. Once we pass roughly 200%, the image starts to break down. You can see pixelation setting in, fine lines becoming blurred, and grain appearing across the facial details. The hair, skin texture, and edges around the face lose definition very quickly, which tells us there simply isn't enough underlying resolution to support deeper zoom or enhancement. Now let's move on to the 2K version generated in Nano Banana. Immediately, you can see an improvement. As we zoom in, the image holds together better than the 1K version. Fine details like the hair strands, chin line, and facial contours remain clearer for longer. However, once we approach around 300% zoom, pixelation still begins to appear. While 2K is noticeably better than 1K, it still doesn't fully preserve the level of detail needed for heavy zooming or downstream processing. Now let's look at the 4K version. This is where the difference becomes very obvious. At 200% zoom, the image still looks clean and detailed. Skin texture is more natural, facial features remain sharp, and edges hold their structure. Even when we push the zoom significantly higher, up to 800%, the image barely begins to pixelate. You can still clearly distinguish the lips, nose, and facial contours at extreme zoom levels. This tells us that the image contains far more real pixel information, not just perceived sharpness. For this next comparison, I want to switch from the anime-style character to a more realistic, human version of the same concept. This helps show how resolution differences translate when facial realism and natural detail matter more. Let's start with the 1K version. At normal viewing size, the image looks fine. The lighting is balanced, the composition works, and the subject reads clearly. But as soon as we begin to zoom in, the limitations show up quickly. Facial features start to soften. Skin texture becomes flat. Edges around the eyes, lips, and jawline begin to blur. Once you pass deeper zoom levels, there simply isn't enough detail left to support clarity. Now let's compare that to the 4K version. Immediately, you can see a difference in how much real information the image holds. As we zoom in, facial structure stays intact. Skin texture looks more natural. Fine details around the eyes and mouth remain defined instead of collapsing. Even at higher zoom levels, the image holds together far better than the 1K version. This is the key takeaway. When you work with realistic human faces, resolution matters far more than it does with stylized imagery. For this next test, we're looking at a wide environmental scene. Landscapes are a great stress test for resolution because they contain a lot of fine details spread across the entire frame. Grass, rock textures, water, clouds, and distant elements all competing for clarity. Let's start with the 1K version. At first glance, the image looks good. The composition works, the lighting is appealing, and the scene reads clearly at normal viewing size. But once we begin to zoom in, the limitations become obvious. Fine details in the grass start to blur together. Rock edges lose definition. Textures across the cliffs and shoreline begin to soften. As we push the zoom further, the image quickly runs out of usable detail, and the scene starts to feel flat. Now let's compare that to the 4K version. Immediately, you can see that the image holds significantly more information. As we zoom in, individual blades of grass remain distinct. Rock formations preserve their structure. Subtle texture variations across the cliffs and terrain stay intact. Even in distant areas of the frame, details remain readable instead of collapsing into noise. This is where native resolution makes a major difference. Environmental scenes rely heavily on distributed detail, not just a single focal point. With native 4K, that detail is preserved across the entire image, from the foreground all the way into the background. Most people think image resolution only matters for stills. It doesn't. I took the same image and turned it into video, once from a 2K source and once from a 4K source. At first glance, the 2K video looks fine. But once motion kicks in, details soften, edges blur, and textures start to break down. Now compare that to the 4K source. Even at the same export resolution, facial structure stays more stable, motion looks cleaner, and details hold together frame to frame. Then I ran both through Topaz Video AI using identical settings. The 4K version recovered far more detail, cleaner edges, better texture, and smoother motion overall. Now we'll take a look at the environmental images brought to life. Now for the final part. I'm taking a single starting frame, turning it into an action frame, and building it out into a full start-to-end anime intro sequence. I edit in After Effects, but I'll use CapCut to try out new effects and color correction. Every clip in this sequence is generated using native 4K output, then enhanced with Topaz Video AI. I hope you enjoy!
His body wanted to stay down. Every bone told him it was over. But Alex didn't survive this far by listening to pain. 1,000 men stood before him, and 1,000 already lay behind. Steel broke. The storm broke, but he didn't. They call him reckless. They call him cursed. But the battlefield knows the truth. Alex doesn't fight to be remembered. He fights because he is the strongest.
If you want more breakdowns like this, deeper tests, or new AI workflows as they drop, let me know what you want to see next. You can follow for more, or join the Discord community where I share a lot of this early. I'll catch you in the next one.